method signatures and method calls. So you've noticed by now, playing around in Greenfoot, that there are a couple of ways of looking at classes and objects. So one view that we have of classes are these little rectangles over here that tell us what classes we have available and the kinds of objects we can make. So we know we can make a baby world, which is this world right over here, and we can make babies. And here's a little baby that we put onto the screen. And we know that we can also, if we want to take a look inside and see what's going on, we can double click on the class and see the class definition with all the methods and the blocks inside there. In this video, I'm going to concentrate on this view, not the code view, but all the visual pieces that you see when you're playing with Greenfoot. And I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about method signatures and method calls. So we talked a little bit about method signatures. I'm going to control click on the baby and take a look. And what you see in this menu is a whole bunch of method signatures. Right here, there's void act, int get age, Boolean is old. All these are signatures. And a signature, at least the ones that we see here, the signature, what the signature has in it is it has the name of the method. So this method is called act, and this method is called get age. This method is called is old, move down, move left, move right, move up, and times 2. So every method has a name that you call it by. And then another thing that we see in these signatures is every signature also shows the return type. And the return type could be void, or it could be something like int or Boolean. So it might return nothing at all. If it's void, it doesn't return anything at all. If it's an int or a Boolean, then it returns something. And what does that mean exactly? Well, let's do a method call. So a method call is when you call the method. So if I click on act, then I'm going to call the act method. This is going to be a method call. So watch. Okay, so his act is he turns all the way around. Okay, so when we call a method, if it's a void type, then we don't get any information from the method. It doesn't tell us anything. It makes something happen, but it doesn't give us any information. If we want to get information from a method, we need to use a method that has a return value, like int or Boolean. Okay, so we have this method called getAge, and it has a return type of int. So let me call this method, and when I call the method, I get a number back. I get information back. Okay, the type of information is int, and the information is of type int, and the value of the information is here. It's a 7. Okay, so when the return type is int, that means we're going to get a number back, and the number that we got back this particular time when we made this method call was we got a 7. And you can see up here it says int get age. So we know our return type. It tells us here our return type is 7, and it tells us here it returned an int that was the number 7. Okay. We can also return a Boolean. So remember, Boolean is true or false. So the return type of this method is Boolean, and when we make a call to this method, we get back a Boolean. So is old, the return type for is old is Boolean. So we're going to get a Boolean value, a return type of Boolean, and the return value is false. Okay, so that's method names we talked about. So act, get age, is old, and return types void, int, Boolean. There are also parameters, which we talked about a little bit. So this method, move down, it doesn't have any return type, so it's not going to give us back any information, but it does need a parameter right here, int steps, it says, and notice that we have the type of parameter too, so we know what kind of parameter, what kind of information to give this method when we call it. So remember, when we said is old, we didn't have to give it any information because the parameter list is empty, but it did give us back some information because it had a return type of Boolean. Okay, so it could give us back a true or false. For when the signature has a parameter in it, that means we need to give information to the method before it does anything. So I'm going to say move down, and you see that it says void move down int step. So this is not going to return anything because the return type is void, but it has an integer parameter. It needs an integer before it can do its work. So I'm going to say move down, and it needs an integer, so I'll give it a number 2 and say, let me move this out of the way so we can see the baby. And I'm going to say OK, and the baby moved down 2 cells. Okay? So when a signature has a parameter, that means we need to give information to the method before it can do its job. And the type of parameter tells you what kind of information you need to give it. So if it says int steps, that means we need to give it an integer, a number. Okay? And you can have 0 parameters, 1 parameter, or more parameters. Okay? So we have all these different move methods, and notice they're all void. They don't return any information. Now here's a method that has a return type and a parameter. So that means that we're going to have to give it some information, and then it's going to give us some information back. So the name of this method is ×2. So maybe you can guess what it does. So when I call this method, it's going to ask me, I'm going to have to give it a number, and then it's going to give me a number as an answer. So let's try that one. So I'll click, do a method call. Okay, so see this says method call right here. Now I'm calling the method. It says int ×2 int number. So that means I need to type in a number. So I'll type in a 6 and then click OK, and it returns a number. So see, this is method result now. So it says int ×2 int number. So I gave it a 6, and it shows the parameter that I gave it when I called it. It says baby ×2 6. So I called it with a 6, and it returned a 12. Okay, so this one I had to give a number as a parameter, and it returned a number 12. So let's try another number and see. If I put in a 4, so see it says int number. On a method call, I need to give it a number, and then the result is 8. Okay, so a method signature gives you the information you need so you can make a method call. Okay, so it tells you whether you need to give any information to the method, and whether you're going to get any information back. So if you're going to give it a parameter, if you have to give it information, there will be a parameter here in the parentheses. And if you're going to get back information, there'll be a return type that's not void. And so these are the method signatures, and to make a call, you click on one of the method signatures and it calls the method. Okay, and you'll either get a method result. If it has a return type, you'll either get a method result box that says here's the result of your method. This is the information that the method gives you. Or if the return type is void, it will just and there's no parameters here. If it's just void, it'll just do what you ask it to do.